Oh, it's plus 1. All right, well, that would definitely change things then. So if this is definitely going to be plus 1, well, actually, it doesn't really matter. One thing I told you guys is personally, when I'm factoring, I always want to factor out the negative. I always want my front term to be positive. Now, again, there's two different ways you guys could look at this. You could, again, factor out that fraction. If you factored out the 1/25th, then you would then have negative 125z squared minus 25. So instead of just factoring out the negative 1, you could factor out a negative 1/25th, and you have z squared minus 25, which is, again, a difference of two squares. However, I also want you guys to think about this. We don't even have to go through those lengths here. Because once you guys notice this is a squared minus b squared. Remember, this can always be factored into a minus b times a plus b. So we got to look at this. Is 1 over 25, is that a squared number? Is 1 a squared number? Is 1 a squared number? Can you take the square root of 1? Yeah. Is 25 a squared number? Can you take the square root of 25? Yes. Is z squared a squared number? Can you take the square root of z squared? Yes. Is 1 a squared number? Can you take the square root of 1? Yes. So what you guys can determine, if a squared is equal to 1 over 25 z squared, what exactly is a? Well, you would just take the square root of both sides, and you could say that's going to be 1/5 z. So if a squared is 1/5 z squared, then a is just going to be 1/5 z. So it'd be 1/5 z. And then the square, and then plus or minus, if b squared is 1, well, then b is also going to be 1. So your final answer would be minus 1, 1/5 z plus 1. OK? If you did it this way, you could also factor out the 1/25th. And then this one's a little bit easier to do difference of two squares. You guys could do z minus 5 times z plus 5. Which is going to provide you guys it's going to provide you the exact same answers, either way you look at it. OK? I always just want you guys to think about this. Whenever you guys see the difference of two squares, just remember this factoring technique. It makes it much easier than having to use the x's and all that kind of stuff. X's and the boxes and the grouping.